Okay, I would like to call to order the ARB meeting for tonight, Wednesday, May 19th, 2021. Roll call, please.
Larson.
Here.
King.
Here.
Schneider.
Here.
Utz.
Here.
Correll. Here.
Okay, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we are at citizens' time. Would anybody like to speak for citizens' time that does not have an active application? Okay. The next thing on the agenda is minute approval. Do I have a motion to accept the minutes from our regular meeting on April 21st, 2021?
Madam Chair, I move that the ARB approve the regular meeting minutes of April 21, 2021.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Right, the minutes are accepted. Okay, we will move on to agenda items.
Emily, is this something, if we have to use the screen, we can use the screen?
Yeah, you want me to pull that down?
Sure.
So if you'll hit that button. These larger files take a bit, so sorry about that, guys. Okay, we are on packet page 5 to start us off. And we will first be looking at the Popeyes Certificate of Appropriateness application. In order to help go ahead and put a lot of the materials and information up front, in the report on page 5, you'll have a summary of what the different materials and colors are. So to go through those quickly here, we have the roof material is medium bronze or dark bronze standing seam roof, siding materials Arctic white main, and timber bark as an accent in a vertical setting. Trim material is white, accent material is stone veneer base, southern ledge stone is the color. Lighting material is gooseneck lighting in a custom orange color as requested. Vinyl shutters, colonial red in color. Window and door trim is dark bronze in color, metal awning in the frontage and along the pickup window side, standing seam in dark bronze color. And then the signage is custom franchise signage, Popeyes orange coloring, signs to be discussed separately and permitted separately. We will be discussing those tonight. However, I would like to get through all of the exterior architectural elements first, and then we will come back to the signs. And the signs include a circular wall sign, individual letter signage, and a franchise script signage. So going through the report here, for the architectural features only, the items I would like to call to attention, if you go to page 12 of your packet, since this is a new board, I just would like to explain. Previously, Crossroads Village came in with a master design plan. And on page 12, you will see a general mock-up of one of the multi-tenant buildings with all of the different options. So this is what the ARB previously approved, giving them options for different roof colors, different siding colors, the trim being white, different lighting options, you had 2 different signage options, you had a water table option, and then there was a set dumpster enclosure, and then all the materials themselves were set. Colors were really the only optional item here. If you go to page 13, what they've done for this application is they have marked out in red the items they will not be using. And so all of the items left here are the ones I mentioned previously in that summary. You'll have the siding colors, the Arctic white and the timber brown, or I'm sorry, timber bark color. You'll have the gooseneck lighting. Again, we'll come back to this. They are requesting a custom orange color. And then you will have the standing seam roof material, the white trim, and the stone veneer. So flipping, is everybody good with that? Okay. Flipping on down to page 14, I'm going to try here to plug into the projector screen. All of you guys should have this image. I know it's a little bit smaller on 8.5. Is it on there, Marshawn? On your packet? Or is it cut off? Is that page 14?
Yes.
Okay. Let me try to pull it up. The detail on the electronic image is quite crisp, so we'll get a better idea there. But one of the items I would like for you guys to take a look at is the orange gooseneck lighting as it appears on both sides and the frontage. So what I would like us to start looking at is, again, let me preface, the colors as they get printed on these packet pages are not always the most accurate. What we're going off of is the colors that were previously approved. So the Arctic white, the timber bark, the colonial red, and then that water table there. So they might appear a little bit more brown and creamy here, but those are the colors that they are going with and have been approved. So the orange gooseneck lighting is up here on the top of the building. This is something that I would like the board to discuss if they are amenable to allowing for this modification to match with the franchise. As staff, I would recommend that the gooseneck lighting, rather than stand out against the building in the bright orange, rather would kind of blend in as a dark bronze color or a medium bronze color. They are putting on the colonial red shutters. And at any point that you guys would like to ask the applicant to come up and we ask them these questions and go through it, we can. It is up to the board.
I'm curious to know, in the original approval for the color scheme by the previous board, did they address what any considerations, and I know that the tenants were not all known at that time, but what their considerations would be given there could be some franchise tenants in there?
So At the time of the previous master plan approval, we discussed that the signage will be different. They could come in, franchises could come in with different font styles, different colors that they would request to be approved. We have previously worked with Taco Bell for this site. And one of the items that we discussed was they use purple in a lot of their franchise stuff. So we looked at, I believe original proposals were for some purple bollards. And so we had the discussion if that was an appropriate color to have there in the parking lot. We also discussed, they do a more modern art piece, if you will, on some of their facades. So we also discussed how that would possibly fit in with the town of Haymarket and how we wanted the buildings of the entire development to work in conjunction with what we have around the area. So for the most part, it came down to colors, signages, and fonts.
And have we seen, because I know it's not come in front of this board, but have we had Taco Bell's design come in front of us for the ultimate approval?
Yes, we have. I believe it was 2019.
I misspoke. She had asked me earlier. I thought it had not come forward yet, so I apologize.
Yes. I can pull that up while we're discussing. We've also had, I was going to just bring it up since you had asked, we have had the townhomes come forward as well, and that is part of this development. Just so that you guys have an idea, this is what has been approved. The general color schemes shown here, siding, brick combinations there. So that is something else that has been approved. And then the general layouts of the buildings that came in at the time of, let me shrink down, of the master plan. Those are in that second large packet with the Lidl information. So you have the general layout of what the buildings would look like as previously approved.
Madam Chair, I was going to offer, on page 14 that we were looking at, it was helpful. I was going to say kudos to the applicant for, on the side, it sort of lists the corresponding materials because the graphic doesn't necessarily show it, but it shows the corresponding materials, so that's helpful. So you are continuing to do the board, they are continuing to do the board and batten on the dark colored sections. Correct, so that'll be the vertical of that material, the darker, okay, it's shown here on the side.
Here on the side.
Even though it's horizontal, I think that darker color is going to be the board and batten.
Here.
So we'll still have the stone water table, still have the hardy plank, Arctic white siding. And is that going to be on the cap along the top? Is that like a metal cap?
If you guys are amenable, let's ask the applicant.
Okay,
to
I'm sorry, I
come
forgot
up.
what the question answered.
That's all right. Don's here tonight with, as a representative of Crossroads Village, so he can answer and kind of introduce the different topics.
Hello, everyone. I'm Don Wooden with Meldon Group. Yeah, the question that was on was the cap. Yeah, that's a metal, fabricated metal precast color on the top.
Is it a bronze color, Don, or is it like a black? I can't tell from the.
Is it named anywhere?
Yeah, I was trying to find. I can't read on this.
Give me
side,
just
I'm
a
sorry.
second. I'll,
I believe it is the
it
dark
is
bronze.
black.
It is black.
Yeah, right here.
Okay. Is that pointing? Yeah.
Right into there. And then it'll be the upper here. To confirm, will the timber bark siding be in the vertical setting on these portions as shown?
It's, in terms of the way the facade appears, yes, but I'll ask, we do have a representative from Popeyes. Is that a board member? It is. it's a board and batten vertical.
Okay.
On this, the orientation labels may be a little bit off. This isn't the east elevation, this is the southern elevation facing Washington Street, correct?
Yes.
Okay. That's one they would suggest if the application's amended, just to correct the orientation. So, Emily, the middle orientation, oh, sorry.
I was going to zoom in real quick
Okay.
so we can all get our bearings. As you look at, sorry, moving a little fast here. As you look at this map, this is going to be this site here. This is showing, Dawn, please correct me if I'm wrong, this is currently showing a multi-tenant building, but it's going to be in this position here. And the facade we were just looking at is this one right here along Washington Street. As Marchant mentioned, it's the south facing, but it's the one you see from Washington Street.
Correct.
Then the middle elevation would be the east, basically facing Giuseppe's.
Yes.
Okay. And the other one would be facing west.
And yes, this is the west with the pickup window right here and an awning above. And then your rear elevation would be right here. And you will see that from the main boulevard, but also there's another tenant building proposed in the back there. So that's the rear elevation right here.
Emily, if it might help, I don't know if it'll crash the computer. Page 73 has the updated layout of the building.
73?
Yes, ma'am.
Right, that was the question I had when I initially looked through. It was just it looked like this was it's a single tenant, not the multi, as it looks like with some of the demonstrations. So just making sure that this is that location.
That gives you a better idea right here. Again, I'm sorry it's blurry. We got new computers and the projector doesn't quite work.
Doesn't agree.
We'll work on that for the next meeting.
So just to reiterate here, the drive-through would be on the left
Drive-through.
side. Okay.
So very similar to Chick-fil-A. You kind of join in on the drive-through, come around, pick it up on the far side, and exit in there. Circle back. I'm going to jump back up to the facades.
Is the red shutters, it matches our color palette, but is that a branding thing for Popeyes? Okay.
It is not. No, that was an agreed upon change. They would prefer to be orange, which is their brand.
Okay.
But the red is the colonial red. That is an approved color and
The guidelines?
design.
Okay. Madam Chair, if there's no other questions, I have some comments.
No other questions, and I'll make a short comment before you
Okay.
go. I would agree, Emily, with you. And that's why I asked about what had been approved previously, just in terms of the color of lighting. I know it's a small item, but I would rather see us be consistent in terms of what was approved before and not have the orange lighting. I also think it takes away a little bit just from the consistency with the other buildings that could be in there. And that's really my only comment.
I was going to have a similar that I would recommend that it keep the sconces or the gooseneck lighting match what the original design guidelines approved, just for consistency. That's a standard fixture used across the development. I'm pleased to hear the compromise on the red shutters. It does set it off. I know there's an interest in setting this building off in terms of keeping it. You don't want it to blend or be hidden amongst the other buildings on the site. In terms of a black cap on it versus the bronze, I don't know if the other ARB members would have a preference either way, black versus bronze, just it's another color to give it variation. The only other thing that would be helpful if this came back was just an update to the elevations. It would also be helpful to have the application with it, and then also the updated layout. If it does come back, if it moves forward, I would just recommend those changes be made. And this is just on the architecture, correct? We'll be back on the signage later. Okay. Overall, I could tell there's some work done and some thought into matching the original design, so I appreciate the effort into preparing and trying the best to match the approved palette, but still give some recognition of the branding. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
The only comment I would have is Emily, do you know if we had an approved color on the goosenecks, or if it was just the design element of being a gooseneck?
That I will have to pull back up through.
I see goosenecks. I'm trying to see if there's a color. Yeah, I would fully suspect that we wouldn't have requested a color to be approved with the goosenecks in terms of a master design, because certainly most tenants would want to have the opportunity to have a color variation. So, so this is obviously their requested color, obviously because it's their branding. Do you have a color in mind that you would agree to, that you believe would be in liking or making with the other color palettes that are, you know, on the building, or?
I would like to know, I guess, what we've approved, and again, I don't have the benefit of being on the prior board to know what those other buildings are going to look like, if it is specific to what each of the franchisees or what we've approved for some of the other buildings may look like. I think that would be one question that I would have. And if there was an approved color design for these originally.
Okay. I know with our previous applications throughout town, not specific to this development, we've always gone with a black or very dark bronze gooseneck lighting option as what would be most appropriate. That would be my staff recommendation to the board.
Madam Chair, when I made the recommendation, I had assumed this color on page 14 was the approved color. I guess the other question too, is it just the cover that's orange, or is it like a glass that the light would come through the glass? Is there a...
Just the actual paint color on the
actual
fixture
paint color
itself.
of the fixture itself?
Correct.
And it seems very... Okay, here's the... I'm still of the recommendation that would just keep the bronze color. The orange on, when we come back to signage, I think the orange on the signage will do a lot to make it pop for the branding.
Could I just add one other option? How about black? It looks like that black has already been introduced with the cap, and I think black was, Igor thinks that black is what was approved at Taco Bell on their goosenecks. But I'll ask the representative. How about black? Black would be acceptable. He says black would be acceptable to.
I think that would be a fair.
Yeah. And so you're
Fair
saying the
compromise.
gooseneck itself would be black, and then the painting of the shade itself would be black?
No, the light color would be just a white, you know, just a normal fixture light.
I see.
Yeah. Yeah, it would
I
just
think
be.
that's workable.
I agree, it's a good suggestion to match the cap. I agree that's an appropriate tie-in. That way we have some more consistency of the color.
Okay,
Good suggestion, thank you.
you're welcome.
Are there any other items for the exterior of the building? Don, do you have anything else for the
No, I think that the questions were answered. We understand that we just will change to the agreeable black on the goosenecks, and that we will just change the elevations to correspond properly, south, east, west, north. I think that was all.
So while we're on this page, I'd like to go ahead and discuss the signage for the proposed building. Again, it was understood with the original master design plan that signage would come back individually per the business and per their franchise, if they were a franchise. So as for the signage that is here in front of us, I just would like to put out there that the sizes of the signs will need to be modified to fit within our sign ordinance. They all are shown right now as too large, except for the round circular one in the back is more permissible on the size. So the main one out front will need to be modified, as well as the Love That Chicken sign on the side at the main entry point. So we can discuss tonight the fonts and the colors, as well as the general layout of these signs and how the board feels that they work with the architecture style. And then I will work with the applicant on the size requirements for them and that modification separately. As for the color, I'll start with the Popeyes individual letters there on the front. I think this is very amenable and a reasonable request based on the other applications that we've received for other franchises in the town, as well as in this development. We have allowed for franchises to go with their main color scheme when it comes to signage like this, as well as their unique fonts. I think that this is an amenable request, as well as the round one here in the back. I'm going to zoom in 1 second. Having this as a wall sign. Again, I think this is an amenable request there for the rear of the building. However, I do want to discuss the font with the board about the Love That Chicken sign. Again, this is their slogan and one of their fonts that they have within their franchise. So this is up to the discretion of the board. It is not an approvable font within our set guidelines, but it can be discussed if there is room for modification to work with the franchise.
I have one just comment to that one, if I may. We'll be asking for waivers of the signage, proportionate size, as well as font. So we understood this to be larger than what was currently zoned within the sign ordinances, so we'd be asking for a waiver. We believe that if you would just look at particularly each facade face and look at the appropriateness of the size of the face of the side, proportion to the building size and the signage that fits on it. We believe that this is appropriate in terms of size, in terms of the face of the facade of the building, but up to the board.
I guess on that point, I'm sorry, Madam Chair, next question.
Go ahead.
On the sign size, we don't have the ability to waive the sign size, so that's a little bit out of our discretion. Emily, am I correct? Or?
You're correct.
Okay. And I don't believe in the zoning ordinance, unfortunately, there's not a way to waive that. The ordinance would have to be changed to, correct me if I'm wrong, to change that size, and the ordinance is being updated. Emily, could you offer that on the update?
Yes. The zoning text amendment is currently going through the Planning Commission, and we are reviewing all of the sections of the zoning text amendment, determining if we need an update. As of Monday night at the Planning Commission meeting, they have tasked staff with doing a full audit of the sign ordinance. I cannot guarantee that there will be any modifications to allow certain signs and certain sizes to be approved. However, I can tell you that we are doing a full audit of what is currently allowable and what other local jurisdictions allow. So that is something we are working on. It will go before Planning Commission again and then Town Council. There are public hearings, and applicants have the ability to talk with those boards and request modifications. So I can get with you separately on that.
Okay.
What would be helpful is if you petition the commission with your examples of what a larger size sign might look like. I think that would be helpful to the commission and the council to see a sort of a real life example. When we look at the sign standards, we tend to look in the abstract. It's helpful to have some examples that can show that. Thank you.
Emily, it would be helpful if you stated what the sign ordinance is in terms of, is it a square footage based upon linear feet of a storefront? Or?
Yes. So there's two options. I can pull it up for you guys so we can all look at it together. What we allow for currently is in the B2, I'm sorry, one second. What we currently allow for in the B2 is 18 square feet on the front of the building. However, if you are a certain distance away in the I-1, you can add additional signage there, square footage, and it's based on how far away you are. So currently, the wall signs, the square footage in the B2 is 9 square feet. Individual letter signs is a height of 1.5 feet per letter height, 18 square feet total. If you're set back 100 feet or more from the right-of-way, you can have a 2-foot height letter and 20 square feet area. Other various sign types apply as well, but these are the two we're looking at. Pardon?
And no defined size in terms of a logo? Or would that be separate from, or?
Logo meaning this orange circular one in the back?
Right, that would be a logo.
So that one we classify as a wall sign, and so that one is 3 by 3, and that's within the 9 square feet.
9 square feet.
Mm-hmm. So that one is permissible. The main ones that we have concern with are the Love That Chicken one. It is currently, let's pull up the square footage. That one is one concern, and then the main Popeyes sign as well.
Is the Popeyes sign being measured just from the bottom portion of the P to the top portion of the P, and then vertically across, or is it taking into consideration the entire Louisiana kitchen, including in the Popeyes? Do you know?
So the main item is that the letters themselves are 2 feet and 3 inches.
2 feet 3 inches.
Mm-hmm. Sorry.
And if it's 100 feet back, it would be permissible 2 feet,
Correct, and
Okay.
then you would be able to go up to 20 square feet.
and then 20 square feet.
On this sign, okay, ask questions. Okay. On this sign, it's backlit or is it indirectly lit?
It looks to be indirect with the goosenecks above it, but I'll confirm.
That,
Either way, is it currently shown as a backlit? It can be either.
so the small reference box here pointing to it says that it's internally illuminated, and then it shows gooseneck. So if the gooseneck are to stay, if we could just remove the one item that says internally illuminated.
Okay. That has been the trend all along that side is to have the indirectly lit with the gooseneck, so that's,
It does happen a lot, yeah.
Yeah, that was my question, just what we were doing. I thought were they all gonna have that backlight or indirectly lit? Because I sort of got stuck on the very beginning of the multi-tenant building where you had your main tenant and your inline tenant. So I wasn't sure what this was gonna be, if it would be the sole standing and main tenant.
They're requesting an internally lit sign with goosenecks to give it additional lighting to the area. The other one where it's Love That Chicken, I'm pretty certain that's a gooseneck lit only, or if it even has goosenecks above it.
Is it a graphic that's put onto the?
That's a vinyl graphic, yeah. And it's not lit at all, actually. It's just a vinyl graphic.
but to confirm, Don, on the other one, the Popeyes, was that the client is agreeable to doing indirectly lit? Okay.
Yeah, it's currently shown, and he would prefer, obviously, I think, for the client to have internally lit and the goosenecks, both. But if the board doesn't agree with that, then he said he would agree with either.
And then the round, all of them are internally illuminated as well? You have on the rear facade and then
The
the two
logo.
on either side, okay.
Yeah, the logos would be internally.
That would be a change from the overall sign package for the development, correct?
No, that's an approved.
Having which,
Could those signs be,
The
are they
wall.
eligible to be backlit?
so currently what is in the approved is these backing panel signs, as well as having these kind of inline tenants to be internally illuminated, these being those goosenecks, so that would be the discretion of the board.
Madam Chair, on that, what's our?
So they're asking for, when you're saying internally lit, so both, so they want backlit, basically, with the goosenecks.
Correct. I think the thought was that it would be in keeping with the town's desire to have that older architectural element of the goosenecks. And I believe it would add a nice lighting accent to that. So they're requesting both, with the goosenecks illuminating the sign as well as it being a backlit sign.
Goosenecks illuminating the sign also soften a backlit sign, but not bright, harsh light that will area.
Softens the whole facade, yeah.
So here, going back to the round one, so you have one on the rear facade, you have two on either side of the front architectural feature where it pops, so this is the middle diagram here. So that's one on each side, so that's 3 signs, all backlit is the proposal. Yes, Emily, I guess, and the client would be sorry, I can't talk tonight. Emily, you're of the opinion that the design guys would have allowed that backlit?
For those 3 wall signs?
Yeah. Or if that's something we can come back with. I'm sorry, I don't put you on the spot. Something we can look into is how that aligns with the original ones. My opinion is that the sign itself is not objectionable. We have seen a lot of those signs be indirectly lit. The Chick-fil-A has their side signs indirectly lit. That seems to be the pattern. Did Taco Bell have any internally lit signs on theirs, do we know?
I'll have to pull
Okay.
their application
No worries.
for comparison.
They did not? Okay. All
They
goosenecks?
just went with an indirect.
Gotcha, so that would be, I think, the precedent, and then, so we're done with comments, I can come back, we're done with questions, I can come back with comments.
I think that's too, again, going back to what's been previously approved, I would just want to see consistency with one franchisee and with the other.
I take that back, I'm not 100% sure, so we'll have to check.
Good.
I mean, it sounds like we're going to have to table anyway, just based on the approval for the height of the signs.
Yeah, and also, a lot of these things are probably being approved based upon the request of the tenant. because every tenant is going to want a unique package, so to speak. And if it's appropriate and the board agrees, then that's what they're getting. So very well could have been. But yeah, so we understand 2 feet is the Popeyes, assuming we're 100 feet back.
On the Love That Chicken, that really moves away from the type styles that were approved. The Popeyes franchise seems to make sense. It is reasonable in comparison, but does allow the unique characteristics. But the Love That Chicken text, in my mind, would push the boundary of what's sort of the precedent for that shopping center. So no offense to the branding of the Popeyes, but that would be one exception that I would believe is a little bit beyond sort of the limits of the overall theme for the signage for the project. The illuminated signs, the round signs, I would recommend the precedent of having them indirectly lit to be consistent with the rest of the center. What was the other thing I was going to ask? I can't remember. We haven't discussed the drive-through signs. Do you want to pick those up separately after this, Madam Chair, or finish this discussion first?
Finish this first.
So I just want to clarify that comment, because I understood that the package or the plans that were previously approved allowed the discretion of each tenant to come in with either a internally lit sign or a gooseneck externally lit sign, and that was agreeable in the comprehensive plan that we were approved on. So I just want to make sure that we're not trying to make every tenant apply to some standard that one tenant simply chose to have or accept.
I think what I would, say to that is when this package was approved, there was a discussion regarding the end tenants and multi-tenant buildings. We're going to have these signs placed on a backing panel with gooseneck lighting, and then these tenants that were in the center, they would have the option to have the internally lit signage. The reference there and the perspective was in keeping with the Food Lion shopping center that was across the street. Those inline tenants had those white signages there, and so that was what was discussed at the time of this approval. I think that what we're really talking about is Popeyes is asking for internally illuminated and gooseneck lighting on the front, internally illuminated on a logo sign on the back, a wall sign, internally illuminated wall sign here on the side, and another internally illuminated wall sign on the other side. So I think when there's 3 here in discussion, that we did not go into the depth of the logo and the wall signs. Rather, we were specifically talking individual letter, main sign for a business with the original application.
Right, and while we want all of the tenants to be able to have their own unique and distinct look, we also want there to be consistency with what it looks like across the board and in accordance with, the ordinances with the town and what was approved. And it sounds like this is outside of what was originally discussed when this was approved in the first place.
Emily, if you want to go back to that approved package there, so if you'll look here's was, so there wasn't any question as to what was the acceptability. These were some examples given of internally lit signs. So we have a Harris Teeter internally lit sign that was representative of what that could look like, or in this case, this is a Mod Pizza, which is a what is that? It's an indirectly lit, but still internally lit sign here. And then in goosenecks, we showed different styles, obviously being this one versus this one as what could be used on the project. So, Yeah, so that's what was discussed and reviewed.
Don, I would agree that the theme was, I remember the discussion was the inline tenants would have that option of the internally lit. I would agree with Emily's interpretation that that was meant really to be the nature of the individual letter signs identifying the tenant. And I remember this building orientation, the thought about the anchors, either building anchors would have the indirect, and that was the compromise.
Yeah. Another discussion, Rashawn, on that was, if you recall, we started talking about the signage on the pylon and monument signs. And there was a lengthy discussion on that one, and that was, did the, were we allowing corporate logos to be used on that because of your type style that you wanted? And then the board finally agreed that yes, they would allow logos to be placed on the monument signs, but it would have to be white only in terms of color. But they agreed that logos and internally illuminated signs on their buildings could actually be branded their color. So that was that whole discussion and kind of where we came to.
Understood. I guess how I interpreted that was, or how I understood it to be, was that anchor tenants, this building was going to be oriented against Washington, and that anchor tenant facing would have the gooseneck lighting and indirect lighting similar to what's established. Your interior buildings, especially those well off Washington Street, similar to Leeberry or the Food Lion Shopping Center, would have that ability to do the backlit. So I would agree with you there, only to say that because this building is an anchor building and because it's adjacent to Washington Street and we have that established standard for those buildings that front it, I would be of the recommendation that for this reason it would be appropriate to at least those signs that face Washington, maybe not so much for the rear one because who's going to see that, but for those that are the two round ones and then and the one out front would all be the indirect lighting would be my suggestion or recommendation. So it's not to dismiss the ability of the tenants. I think we all agreed, as I remember at the time, that the individual tenants, that was going to be a plus or ability for them to stand out versus their anchor tenants all around them. So, thank you.
Are there any more questions regarding the signage there? Let's go ahead and talk about the drive-through signage, and then we'll go over the items we'd like to see at the next meeting.
It's on page, man, I need bifocals now.
Page 27.
Gotcha. And there's, yep. Really, any issues you identified with this one, or?
Being that they're the generic drive-through signage, I do not have any issues with that. It's presented here.
Where in the, if we're looking at the building, so this will be, where does this sit? I've been to a Popeyes drive-through, so I should know this, but where is this, the actual drive-through is you're driving into?
Trying to get the map.
Okay.
Madam Chair, I was going to have a similar question about the directional signs as well.
Yeah, so here's the menu boards on the back side of
Thank you.
the restaurant, yeah.
And then the location of the directional signage. be internally lit or lighted at all, or no?
Preference would be to use permanently illuminated.
So nighttime traffic could obviously see them.
How many are proposed? You know,
Total, is there, how many total are there proposed? Is there two?
There was a layout that had something showing like two.
Two.
If we could get that layout added in as an application, that would be great. So these are the only ones I have.
You're saying you'd like to see those directional signs put on the,
Yeah,
plan.
if we could get this layout updated to show the single user building with
with the
the
directional signs?
directional signage
Okay.
locations,
menu signs, be helpful.
menu
Sure.
signs.
Sure.
Will this user have a patio area or outdoor dining area?
Yes, they will.
Okay.
That'll be helpful to have that identified.
Will there be any permanent hardscape features there, or just movable furniture?
What's the plan for the outdoor tables? Just, are they going to be fixed to the concrete?
Generally, we fix them with concrete.
Yeah. Umbrellas,
Table, with the bench seating,
umbrellas, no umbrellas?
that would be preferable.
Okay, umbrellas would be preferable.
You want to do the orange umbrellas?
Of course.
Well, Sheets has their red, I
With
guess.
love that chicken on it.
Will that be, is that on the patio would be on the front of the building?
It is. It's on the front.
Yeah, so if we could just get those items updated to show that, and then if there's any permanent fixtures that they'd be putting in the patio, just to demonstrate that, if it's temporary, just giving us an idea of what would be there.
Okay.
If there's no other questions for the board, let's run through the couple items that we would like to have the applicant bring back to us, and then we can move to table this application until the June meeting. Any other questions?
No.
Okay. So I have items, the updated layout to include the directional signage on there, as well as the patio and any fixed structures that may be part of the patio. The gooseneck lighting, change it to black to match with the cap along the top of the building. Please update and submit the application as well, meaning the zoning permit application. I will pull the Taco Bell approval for the ARB to have a general comparison of what was previously approved there and what is going to be right next door. Please update the sign size requirements to match with the zoning ordinance. We do understand that you wish to apply for a waiver or look at having this modified at a later date, possibly pending the zoning text amendment. But for the time being, in order for us to approve the document, please modify the sizes. And then these circular signs, did the board have a final decision on indirectly lit or internally lit?
I would want to table that until we see the Taco Bell permit, just to be consistent.
Okay, so that will be part of next month's discussion. Were there any other items that the board would like to see?
The Love That Chicken, is that something we'd recommend? The type style not be used?
Do you have a type style that's agreeable?
There is a list of approximately 20 approved fonts. Maybe the applicant could look through those fonts and see if there is something that they would be amenable to using.
Okay.
There might be an option to do a combination of two to get a similar effect.
Okay.
Like I
And
said,
that- I'm sorry, real quick, that is found in the design guidelines. Go ahead.
like I said, back to you, so the 3 round signs, we're gonna table that for comparison to Taco Bell. The Popeyes out front, the individual letter sign would be reduced to match the ordinance and indirectly lit
With goosenecks.
with goosenecks. The layout provided that shows the correct building orientation, the patio, the drive-through menu sign location, and the number and placement of the directional signs. Anything else we missed on?
So am I hearing, I guess I'm confused. Am I hearing that the tenants aren't going to have an option of having internally lit sign or an indirect lit sign, that's going to be the decision? And if one of them sets a precedent, like Taco Bell, let's say Taco Bell often does request externally lit signs, then that's what everybody has to live with for the entire center?
I would say I'd like to at least have guidance on what other tenants are doing before I make a recommendation for this particular tenant.
Okay.
And then on the, Madam Chair, on the architecturals, there's still gonna be 2 separate applications? Okay, for the architecturals, you had said the caps, well, no, the caps would stay black, but that would need to be updated for the bronze gooseneck,
The black gooseneck.
black gooseneck, so that would be.
That's all I had.
Madam Chair, I just want to say, I can't remember the last time I ate Popeyes, but we're happy to have you here. I mean, it just, I think a lot of times when we ask these questions, people feel like we're not interested or we're not supporting the business. I think we're excited about the commercial center coming in, seeing something happen. If you've been through town, there's a lot happening, so at least in my regard, I wouldn't take our questions as negatives. It's just trying to refine it to make sure that you have enough unique characteristics and can be successful, but enough to be able to blend reasonably within its neighbors. So I appreciate you guys taking the effort to address our comments.
Absolutely, thank you, and we'll look forward to being part of the community.
There's nothing else. If someone will make a motion to table the application until the June meeting, pending response from the applicant. I can make a motion and you can so move it.
Does it have a number?
2021-009.
Madam Chair, I would move that the ARB table zoning permit 2021-009 for the Popeyes Restaurant architectural drawings and sign plan with the edits as discussed or amendments as discussed at tonight's ARB meeting.
Do I have a second?
A second. Okay. All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Roll call vote?
Sure.
Okay. Larson,
Aye.
King,
Aye.
Schneider,
Aye.
Utz,
Aye.
Brown.
Okay. Next zoning permit we have is 2021-010 for the Lidl. That is located in the same commercial development, Crossroads Village Center. Again, we're on page 29, and I've provided a brief summary here in the beginning of the application. The roof material is not visible. You do have awnings that are visible, and they'll be in a charcoal gray. You'll have siding, a aspen white color brick, and a carbon black brick accent. And the accent material is a stone wood oak product. And then going through, you have my assessment here. I'm going to jump down to the image. Give me 1 second. It's a larger packet, so it takes a little bit to load. This is a application that we have worked with before. Lidl came in to discuss prior to moving forward with some of their decisions at their corporate level. They came in to discuss some of the architecture, and we did discuss through the brick options, the colors, gave them a general idea of what the town would be looking for, and I felt we had a very productive conversation during that. So here you'll have one of the images as you would see it from, just as you were to enter into the center off of Washington Street. This is the main entry here. That's a Lidl. I'm going to jump through each and then we'll come back individually. This is the parking lot sign. And this is the front that would sit along Washington. Close-up of the materials, so you have a similar stone veneer color here with the water table. You have this oak color, carbon black brick, aspen white brick, a charcoal gray, and then you have your clear glass. These are the approved materials below from the master design plan. We will separate out the signage. The same items apply. The signage is too large per our current zoning ordinance. Again, it is under current review with the zoning text amendment and can be discussed at a later date. We can discuss the colors, the general layout, and the different types of signs and whether they're lit. But starting off, we can start with the colors, the bricks, the exterior elements, the awnings, the bollards, the blue framing, and the windows and doors. As it is today presented, I'm in support of the exterior of the building. I think that they took our conversations from before and really worked with what the board was looking to see and looking to have in the community. The one item that I know was discussed previously and Marchant brought back up earlier this week in a discussion he and I had during the workday was this area right here. There was some previous discussion if there was an option to just break this facade up a little bit so that it didn't come off as just this gray box square. Another item that we would like to see is what would the truck loading area look like? We don't have any images of the rear facade. So what would back up to the back portion over here of the development? And then also what would the east-facing facade, so the facade closest to the Chick-fil-A, what would that also look like? Would it be similar in keeping to this facade over here, the south-facing? Or would it be a different look? So I'll open it up to the board for any questions. If there's any specific page you'd like me to bring up, talk about.
I just had a general question, just in terms of how many changes have been made from the original application to now. I went to look through some of the detail, so just curious if there had been significant changes based on the recommendations. And then I did have that question. I didn't see the back or the rear, what that would look like. And then the same question, I wanted to confirm that the view you have now, that's what's facing Washington Street. And I think we had talked about the design at some point as well, and I had the same question. Is there anything we can do, either bring the brick up higher or do something to break up that brick? It just looks office building style, just looks very industrial right there. If that's facing Washington, if that's the facade that's facing Washington Street.
Okay, I can address those things. So all of the tenants that have joined us here, we've gone through many iterations of design before it even is presented to the board, because what we're attempting to do is for the tenant to come into accordance with the approved material and signage plan that was previously approved by the previous board. So we've made several iterations ourselves with this user, being Lidl. And then we presented what we believe was close, with a few exceptions. And I think what did change was they agreed to change the water table stone, which was a gray stone, and they agreed, per your comments last, to change that to the approved fieldstone color, which is more of a sand color, brown. You had asked them to change the facade, the wood facade here, to more be in keeping with the monument signs that was, again, previously approved. And so that's been changed to get closer to that color. And let's see what other changes. Can you go to the different side elevations?
Say sign.
The sides, the different sides. Yeah, so this one, again, this had the darker wood facade color. They again have brought that into accord with this to try to make that blend with the water table stone. The metal canopy that you see here was an adjunct, which I do recall maybe us talking about doing something like this over on the other side to break up that on the front view. So a smaller version of that could be appropriate, I think, to help break that wall section up. And while you have this image up, the loading dock is intended to be here, which if you look on the site plan, it would show that. And so loading bay would be here, loading into the store back on the back side here. And that would be landscaped and obviously covered with landscape material. Signage, we can talk about in a bit, but yeah, you can change images. That one is basically the same. Yeah.
Before we move off that one, Don,
Excuse me?
Chair, if I may, before we move off that one. It was pointed out the blue. Was that, the previous iteration, was that more of a gray, is it just trying to paint it blue to, that's the corporate?
That is that's a company branding.
Okay.
Is that color? And so I think what's shown here is the sunlight coming in, obviously, and hitting them in that area.
And
Yeah.
then I'm sorry. Pylons would remain gray.
Correct.
colors.
Correct, yeah. The pylons are gray here.
And then seem to keep focusing on caps. The caps on the tops. Are those, is that blue or is that gray, or what color are the caps?
You know what that material color is? It's a gray. So it would probably likely match the brick here, come close to that brick color.
Can you just clarify this area right in here, these horizontal pieces, what material and color is that? Is that the blue to match? Or is it a gray?
It doesn't look like that here, but what is the sunshade? Is that those slats, or what material is that, and what color is it?
We can do those in any color. They're just retractable sheet inside
Okay.
windows that come up on.
Oh, so will they be in all of these windows here in the front?
Just this one here we're talking about, right?
They're usually just in front of our dashes.
Okay.
All of those right there on
This one, yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Those are, same wooden material as the,
This
but just an architectural feature.
Okay,
follows down,
okay,
comes down. Okay, so it's this color with it's a wood,
okay.
same material.
That's on the inside or the outside?
Outside,
Okay.
yeah, outside.
Board, one of the things I discussed with Marchant earlier in the week about this application was that I felt the blue and some of these other features that are a little bit more unique to the Lidl could be appropriate, being that they are up under this canopy section. They're a little bit more visible to the pedestrian or the customer as they're walking into the building rather than your vehicles driving out on Washington Street. So while it is a little bit more unique, I find that it is a little bit more fitting to have this in this location that it is, in keeping with their franchise agreements.
I think it looks extra blue just the way the sun happens to be hitting it
It's that
in these
bright
pictures
sun.
too.
Yeah,
I'm assuming it matches the blue and the Lidl sign.
Yes.
correct.
On each screen, it's a little different. I don't know if you're looking at our shared screen, it comes off a little bit more greenish, but when you actually see it here, it does match a little bit better with the blue of the Lidl.
Another question?
No, right, it's hard, it looks, I think because of the way the light is there, I'm gonna look on here.
Has like a shadow on it too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a struggle because it's trying to correctly depict what it's going to look like with the shadowing and the light. But
I don't really have any questions, particularly if this was put forth in the original.
Okay.
I think the only questions that I would have for the applicant, just getting a better idea of what that truck drop-off would look like. Is it at grade? Is it one of those drop pit ones? Just how that would be designed there in the back. And then obviously, you guys have put together a good landscaping plan, so I'm sure it'll be landscaped nicely. But if you could just show that and then show the far side elevation, just so that we're all on the same page of what it would look like. Since the building,
On that, real quick, is it okay to accept that in a SketchUp, an engineered SketchUp, or do you actually want to see it in illustrative in color?
I'll leave that to the discretion of the board.
It's going to be just a typical loading dock with overhead doors.
when I had brought up the question, Don, it was you're going to have the townhouses back there looking at it. And so it's just an idea, is it going to be a continuation of the white brick? What's going to be the enclosure around it? I think you also have the dumpster pads. My next question was going to be, what's the dumpster pad going to look like in the back as well? So that would be two details that would be helpful to know, even if it's a continuation of the wraparound.
That's one area, Mershant, that will, we've got a lot of green space back there. So the intent is to heavily landscape that area.
Okay.
So it would be totally shielded from the townhomes and from the traffic. You can, you can see that here. It's, there you go. Yeah, so all of this is all green space. So you've got a large, 50 to 60 feet of green space all the way around that loading dock bay, and there's your dumpster enclosure right there. But we'd certainly landscape it appropriately.
Is the enclosure matching what the previous plan approved, or does Lidl want to do their own?
You have any problem with the approved dumpster plan in terms of color of the brick, and you'd want to match their facades, yeah, so that
And
what,
I think that would be most
so
appropriate.
their facade on that side would be.
Madam Chair, my
Matching.
suggestion would be if we can get in addition to the western facade that Emily mentioned, if we could also get an elevation of the rear facade too, that would be helpful. along with the dumpster pad right up.
The current dumpster enclosure, just so everyone's aware, is in this bottom area right here, so I think it would be more appropriate to match their facade, their brick colors. It'll be right behind the building.
I would agree.
One question for the applicant, sorry. Here, since the front of the building slopes up, is this far side going to be all the same height, elevation? So one thing that we would just like to kind of see what that's going to look like on that side as well, if it's going to be in keeping with this height right here.
You're talking about the elevation that would be to the west?
Correct.
The west elevation? Okay.
Yep.
Emily, thank you for bringing up that point. So is this, I remember before, some of your other stores have the sweep, right? So this one here, is this a parapet? Is that, do you mind if I look at it?
Yeah,
That would be a flat roof on the back and a parapet.
So this is a parapet between here and here.
It's all parapet,
So if you're looking west, you're not going to see an elevated roof.
yeah. Yeah, correct.
not quite full, but they're
Sounds kind of cool. So, I have more questions.
No, my question was just about the two facades, like what was the back going to look like? So thank you for explaining to what the green space. I was a little concerned about, was that just going to be open back there? So,
Right. Yeah. Okay.
I do have one other question for the applicant. Is there going to be any lighting on the exterior of the building anywhere?
It doesn't appear to be. I'm sure there's going to be a ton of lighting under the canopies.
Okay,
So you'll have, this will be all illuminated, I'm sure, all the way through here.
Okay.
And here is, am I accurate in that? Any lighting on any wall wash lights or anything, anyplace else? So,
lighting over our safety lighting there on loading dock and,
okay.
I'm sure the other thing I brought up was, so, Don, last time we talked about the box. I assume that's the bathrooms for the facility. So with that, when I drove through, back and forth through town today, that would be a large sort of uninterrupted wall, and I was trying to look at examples of how that was broken up. Either a soldier course that breaks it up, or framing. I know the CVS sort of did, I'm not saying do faux windows here, but they sort of broke it up by outlining a window or ornamental corners on it, something that can break up that massing, because as you drive down Washington, you're going to sort of drive along and then you're going to see this sort of black or this dark gray box. So I think the higher quality materials are great, but I was going to suggest ARB would recommend that they look at some way to break up or give that some relief, either through orientation of the brick or some other feature. The water table, I remember talking about that too. The water table was helpful to bring that up and sort of break it up.
I think, yeah, I think that, so just so everybody gets scale here, it may be the way it's viewed here, that wall looks larger, but if you take your parking at 9 feet, I think what you're probably looking at is that wall's probably not more than 9, 9, and 9, so 18. It's probably 26 to 28 feet in width there. So it's actually not a large wall. But the idea that I had about putting the metal canopy, a smaller version of that here, is that?
That's what we had talked about last time.
Yeah, that's
That
what I
was
thought we talked about last
yeah.
time. I think that's very appropriate, I think, there. If you have something better idea, a better idea, but
You can certainly look into it, but is the canopy enough, or do you want to see if
There's always, I mean, if they want to explore using that wood material, if there's anything they can do to bring that down from the upper side. Because on the side, you have those features in here, you could do something on a smaller scale to maybe have two options.
Ye-
The two options.
my fear is it would get too busy on a 28 to 30-foot wall.
And that wouldn't be my suggestion. So obviously the question is, Marchant, why do you have issue with that, but not have issue with the large blank spaces on the eastern facade. Well, that's at the rear of the building, and before we were trying to break up that large expanse.
Right.
So the higher quality materials are great. The white brick, it's not really depicted here, but using that white brick effect. So even if it's an accent that draws along it. I was looking at the hotel today. You'll have these walls and they'll just, even just a simple thing, just a soldier course, or something that you frames it with the white brick, something subtle that sort of draws your visual attention but breaks up that mass. And the canopy was a great idea. I remember that showing up.
Okay.
Any other members have thoughts on? It will be set back. I would agree it's set back. You know,
Yeah, I was just, I haven't got an exact dimension on it, but I believe that we're going to be 150 to 170 feet from right-of-way.
so,
Maybe also for you guys to hear what the elevation change would be. Because you know, with Chick-fil-A, when you come up in, you're a bit of an elevation change as well.
Igor could probably answer that. Are we at grade with 55 here? Or are we high or low? You know, we can check, we can find out. You think it's small slope up?
Don, I forgot, you're going to have, can you pull up 74 real quick, please? Yeah, I think can't look great.
73?
Or the site thing. Oh, that didn't show where Chick-fil-A's in. Okay.
It's a little faint, but right here where the mouse is, that's the front of Chick-fil-A.
Okay, so I amend my comment. The front of Chick-fil-A's here. My concern, if you were driving east, you were gonna have this visual sort of box here. So if this is,
There's the cut, there's the curb cut coming here. So Chick-fil-A building's probably starting
So-
here.
yeah, and then you're also gonna have a landscape.
Along here.
right?
Mhm.
So.
Correct.
And you can also see the size and comparison.
Yeah. Yeah, there's your bump out you guys were seeing.
So, Madam Chair, I will rescind my comment about the other stuff, other than the canopy, I think would still be a appropriate feature just for the Washington Street facade. But I'll roll back my other comments that visually it's set back where the heavy landscaping on the Chick-fil-A side, and I believe you have a landscape buffer that you have to do for your parking lot, that's gonna, I apologize, I didn't think of that sooner.
Yeah, we've got all the Route 55 improvements that we're making here, which will be all landscaped and placed in, so.
And I think the canopy would be, I mean, that breaks it up just nicely enough without having to be anything additional outside of the design. And I think it ties nicely to the rest of the design. It'll tie into the roof line as well. So I think that would be, I would recommend that.
Okay.
No, I will comment, there's another picture, it's on, I think it's back on 63. I mean, you can still see the blue, but it's much less contrasting in that picture in 63. It doesn't look as bright as it does in the one picture with the sun on it. So I think that'll look, it's complementary and it's pretty subtle. It looks nice.
One more is I apologize. First of all, high quality design. You guys do some of the Popeyes. I think the amount of time and detail I think is great. We appreciate you making a higher quality design. This canopy, is it at an angle?
No, it's flat. It's flat
It's
canopy.
not like this going back. It's same flush across.
Yeah, it is, correct. No angles.
I think it's the shadow was throwing me off, made it sound like it was coming out. It's going to be like a.
Yeah. Right there, yeah.
If you guys don't have any other questions about the exterior, the only note I have for the exterior is that we would like to see the canopy on this area of the front facade facing Washington Street in the gray brick area, and the color to match this other canopy. Is that correct?
And the western facade and the
Yes, and we'd like to see the western facade and the rear facade,
dumpster pad.
and the dumpster pad. And the dumpster pad would match the brick materials used on the building. I think in keeping, I'll offer to the board, in keeping with what is seen throughout town, having a minimum of 3 sides of an enclosure, or in this scenario, let me jump to the map, it might be appropriate to have 2 sides enclosing it. We have run into a little issue with people having those front gates on it, and those being quickly damaged, but at a minimum, having this side and this side over here, having some sort of screening structurally, I think would be an appropriate ask. Marshawn?
Doesn't do it to me very well.
Did you, what do you normally do? What did you have in mind?
So ideally for this prototype, we would have our dumpster in the loading dock, and it would be enclosed by that wall. That would be,
Right here. So that is the dumpster pad there.
So, are you saying there's a wall here, or this wall here?
that wall right there would extend out,
Zoomed out.
Like this? Okay.
and then the dumpster would be sitting in the dock, and the dock does grade down.
Right here?
There would be a wall that would be,
Okay.
This isn't, what is that there?
Okay,
That's-
so that, we'll ignore
That's not what
that.
they-
So you're saying this wall right here would extend a little bit, it would sit right in here and be screened.
And it's just, then it's just open in one, okay.
Where the dump truck or the trash truck would come in and get it.
It goes down, right?
It does.
The truck goes down, would the dumpster sit lower, or would they sit on the pad?
It'll sit low with the entire,
I remember seeing one plan, the wall almost came all the way out to here to disguise it. So,
the wall would extend.
yep.
Yeah.
I'm trying to look at, trying to start out, if I'm sitting over here, you're gonna have it screened, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of opportunity to screen there with all that
And
green
then-
space.
Like you're down.
Yeah. Okay.
So if nothing else, let's move to the sign discussion. I'm gonna first go back to the main facade to look at it.
Was everybody here when Lito came in and had that discussion? Well, okay. You know, signage is a very critical piece for the use, and they wanted to make sure that, you know, signage was going to be allowed and approved, and I think there was a discussion on the signage at that last meeting, so.
And I think we would just be at the same place where we were with the other signage for Popeyes, just in terms of us being able to approve the size, because that's not in our purview. That would be my comment.
Do you have if you, just assume that we're 175 feet from the right-of-way, what does that put your calculations at?
20 square feet area.
20 square feet? Mhm. Okay.
For what it's worth, your competitor came across the street and asked for the same concession. Hey, we would like a waiver for larger signage. We want to compete with our competitor. And we had the same scenario there where we wound up ultimately approving a sign that was within the range. And then if they wanted to come back or wanted to petition the commission to do that. So it's not an unwillingness to work with you on it. It's just we don't have the tools to be able to address that. So.
The zoning text amendment that's being
It's currently with the Planning Commission. We're proposing to go to a public hearing in July with the Planning Commission and then review with council. So our goal is to have a final approved zoning text amendment by the end of 2021 through town council. This could be something that if you propose a sign that currently meets the zoning ordinance today, and then there's an allowable expansion on the sign requirements, say in December of 2021, you can come back in and you can amend the sign portion to go up to that maximum size there.
And Emily, 20 square feet, is how's that calculated? Is that 20 square feet for food market, 20 square feet for the logo sign? How's?
So in a review with the ordinance, your food market here, this is allowable at 2 feet for the individual letters, and then a total of 20 square feet. And then this wall sign here is 9 square feet maximum.
Okay.
For the board's perspective, as you see this sign, correct me if I'm wrong, it is 64 square feet. It is 8 by 8.
8 by 8.
That is what the application states.
And what would the sign be, so the sign would be allowable at what?
So this square Lidl portion, that would be allowable at 3 by 3, making it 9 square feet. And then food market over here would be maximum at 20 square feet, and then the letters themselves could be a maximum height of 2 feet.
2 feet 3 inches, wasn't it?
No, just flat 2 feet.
2 feet.
2 foot 3 was Popeyes.
was the Popeyes that
Oh,
needs to be shrunk a little.
That's right. Okay.
There are other signs that are permitted, but I don't think any that would apply here.
So is there any way that we could somehow construct this to where we could where we could apply the 20 square feet calculation to it? Because obviously this will look very much out of context at 3 feet as compared to this at 20 square feet.
Let me jump down 1 second. Right now, based on our sign ordinance, unfortunately, we're just going to have to keep with what sizes are in there and what is approved through the ordinance. The ARB can discuss the colors, the layout, the fonts, and then my best recommendation as it stands tonight is to petition and talk to the Planning Commission and the Town Council and show the need and request for a larger sign ordinance, especially in this area as it is a gateway. It's a larger box store, so that is my current recommendation. I can work with the applicant on that. Again, there's no guarantee it's going to stay the same. There's also no guarantee it's going to increase to this size. And that's where we stand today.
Madam Chairman, when we discussed this last time, the signage, I thought we had talked about food market being one, rather than being stacked, being food market, and then having the smaller Lidl sign with it, so all one sort of band as an alternative to meet the current. Does that make sense? I thought we had talked about that to fit within the existing, but I can't remember. And I want to say, too, the recommendation at the time, this was August of last year, was that the discussion was about the backlit. What could be backlit, and what do you indirectly light the Lidl and then allow the backlight of the food market? I'd have to go back and listen to the meeting again, but there seemed to be a deliberate discussion on how to help the situation that you're in. so.
Yeah, it was
Does that ring a
definitely,
bell, or?
it was definitely a backlit discussion. They don't do any front lighting on any of their stores.
But,
And I don't, in terms of orientation on the food market being, just horizontally, in the same line, that doesn't help the 20 square foot rule. Just,
the idea was if you had to shrink a larger one, it was just a thought, is that, sometimes you have, like State Farm will have, we have one in town where individual letter signs, and then to the right of it is their branding or their logo. That was just a suggestion as a way to interim address the issue. But Madam Chair, I would ask, do we want to weigh in on the lighting?
Is there any discussion of the colors for the route aside from the sign?
I don't have any concern with the colors. I know it's their branding and their logo. I mean, in keeping with allowing for the branding and the logo, I think that is allowable.
And when you look at the one style that you're looking at here, if it's going to match the blue of the windows, which seems to be more of a muted blue versus that one, then matching that would be fine. I apologize, I'm being rude. I'm looking up Lidl signs on the interwebs, so seeing the different signs that you guys have done.
if you go back to the elevation, the front elevation, the one showing directly, well, that one's good. That's good. That's good. That's good. Would there be any, would there be any opposition if we did an additional sign here within the confines of the zoning regulation sizing, logo and sign font here, in addition to here, just to get additional exposure?
The only problem with that, you have one per business per road frontage, it would have to go on the side.
Facing the Chick-fil-A.
And your architecture is so unique, I have a sense that people are going to still, I don't want to dispel your concerns about signage, but your architecture is definitely going to be, I don't want to say iconic, but people are going to know you're there. Trying to find something else.
What about if we provided them with an additional monument sign that would be specific for Lidl out on the frontage?
Would that be the only additional?
Well, obviously on our monument signs that have been pre-approved, they would be taking of one of the bands of that sign, of those signs. But those are simply in white letter and they'll be part of those monument signs. What I'm speaking about is putting a monument sign specific for Lidl out on 55 that would give them some reasonable exposure.
So I think my question there would be, is that the only business you would propose that for?
Yes.
Any monument sign currently?
We have two. I believe one is here. Is that correct, Igor? Monument signs.
We have two here, one monument here, one monument here, and I think we have a pylon sign right here. Don't hold me to that, but I think that's accurate.
So that's on.
You can't
It would be on the
I
sign
believe it's
package.
58,
58, looks like.
68. So those are the signs. So
Yeah, we're showing it right here, yeah, you can see it, there's that one, yeah, so that's a pylon sign, and those two are monument signs, I think that's how we designed it.
Mhm.
So they're more like a knee roll sign, lower sign,
Oh, there you go.
yes.
So you would want an additional monument sign?
Correct, something that would look in liking to the same one here.
Or the one below that's got the cross, just that it would specifically have Lidl on it?
Well, they're both very similar in their
Yeah.
design, yeah. So it could be in accordance with one or the other. But something like this that would then be specific to Lidl's logo and, food market.
Emily, what do you think of something like Chick-fil-A? Chick-fil-A has their monument sign. But that's at the entrance, isn't it? So,
Yeah, this would basically be at their entrance as well. This would be,
This one you would want over here,
correct.
okay?
Yeah, we'd want it at their entrance, right here.
You might not know this, it's that going to be a separate.
When we,
Touch base on this part later, it gets into kind of the sign ordinance of 1 per road frontage, 2 per maximum lot. We can discuss this offline, that is a possibility, that there's another freestanding option. There is the possibility that it could be either this pylon or the monument. It would have to fall within the height restrictions. It could be specifically just for Needle there. I can work with the applicant on that in this upcoming month, and that's something we can.
so just to address that one, Emily, that will be a separate tax map parcel ID number. It will be.
Then yes, that was
Thank you.
if you guys are in the middle of your draft, that's what that would look like.
Okay.
And then are the materials gonna match those signs, or are they gonna instead match?
I'm thinking we'd stay in accordance with the architectural design in terms of the brick and, how we're showing it here. But this particular area is what I'm talking about. We would change to, maybe the backing is that same wood veneer, but then on that backing would be the logo and food market. Yeah.
was that in, I'm sorry, you said it's externally lit, it's lit by the floodlights.
Yeah, I think that would be a good compromise. I would prefer it to be the monument size rather than the pylon size.
Yeah,
But,
I would agree
yeah,
with that.
I think that would be,
Yeah, this is the pylon here.
yeah.
And that's probably, very large, but yeah, these are in more liking, probably something like this one here. Yeah.
Any other questions or?
No.
Just, do we want to weigh in on the building, internally lit or externally lit, or indirectly lit? When they come back?
I would say come back to, because I know we're gonna come back on the Popeyes as well, so the same, I would want us to be consistent across.
Being that that'll be an important factor for Lidl to make a decision on, I think it would be appropriate if you would discuss they are the anchor tenant in the center. And I know they are requesting an internal illumination sign package. So it's open for discussion. I appreciate that.
Are the logo is backlit, are the letters,
They are, yeah, individually channel lit, backlit.
Is it like the halo, or is it the actual rear?
Yeah, it would be backlit, yeah, internally lit, I guess is the best way to put
Okay.
it.
I would agree, we would need to see what you guys come back with. If you're able, if you are trying to pursue an alternate sign standard within the current ordinance, and depending on what Taco Bell did, I just think we would have to make an exception as to how we've typically viewed these tenants all along Washington Street. So I think we would have to think a little bit more about how we would, well, the other tenants are going to come back and say, well, why'd you give Lidl the sign and not us the backlit signs along Washington?
I think the answer to that is because you have a previously approved plan that allowed each tenant to have either an internally lit or an externally lit sign.
Okay, but as we said earlier, it was the anchors. I think the anchors on either of those buildings was the intent to have the backlit. But I think, yes, I would say yes, we're willing to consider it, so.
Yeah, I mean, this is, this, even though, I mean, it's not on the end, but it's an anchor, so I would agree there. And I also don't see how you would have have another lighting solution. I mean, that seems to be sort of the only, I don't know visibly what it would look like to have another lighting solution for that.
Well, what Sheets did was they took their backlit sign and just goosenecked it. So they still had, they just didn't light up the sign. So next time you go over to Sheets, you'll see how they affixed it to the building. That was how so they still had the branding, they still had the relief. It's not a flat sign, it's kind of, it has a, you know, bubbles out a little bit. That was how they addressed that one. If that's something that can be considered as an alternative. Or Popeyes had mentioned earlier, the goosenecks, and in combination with the backlit, sort of muting that, if that's an alternative too. So.
Yeah, I would say, I don't know how you would look, if you're looking at if you're looking here, where would you put the goosenecks? I feel like it would take away from just the clean visual if you're putting goosenecks up there,
Oh, okay.
if that's what we're talking about.
The store design itself doesn't lend itself to goosenecks.
Okay. Question? Like a shielded fixture that directed on it? That's a good idea.
Maybe much more flexibility on lighting than we do south.
Okay.
Try to run on
Well, that we can't help you with tonight. But if you're willing to pursue alternative, how it's lit, then that would be very helpful, so.
If there is no more discussion on this tonight, we can table this one as well until the June meeting. I would like to go through the same items that we've asked the applicant to return to us with. We would like to see the rear facade elevation, or at least an example of how it would be landscaped and designed to include the materials and the colors if a elevation cannot be provided. We would like a clear identification of what the dumpster area or enclosure would look like. We would like to see the west facade, the one that faces Chick-fil-A. We would like to see the canopy added to the front left corner of the facade that faces Washington Street. We would like to further discuss lighting options for the sign and have the applicant give some thought to different options and what could be amenable to the applicant. And we would also like to see the sign option for the monument sign on Washington Street with a similar keeping of the previously approved Crossroad Village monument signs, but to incorporate Lidl's different franchise materials into it and logos. Are there any other items?
No, thank you.
This one is 2021-010. If somebody would like to make a motion to table until the June meeting.
I would move that the ARB table zoning permit 2021-10 legal design plan review to the next ARB meeting to review amendments as discussed this evening.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Larson. King.
Aye.
Schneider.
Yes.
Utz.
Aye.
Terrell.
Okay.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
We're excited to have you.
A lot of people are asking.
I need a place to shop. Okay. Next item is our historic district overlay discussion.
Okay, it's 9 o'clock, so I'll keep this a little brief. I don't know how late you guys want to go tonight, since we did have our 6 p.m. work session as well. But we will be discussing a historic district overlay amendment if it is something that the Planning Commission, the ARB, and the Town Council has an appetite for. Planning Commission has begun this discussion on Monday night. So the entirety of the town is currently under a historic district overlay. There has been a request to look at this, if it should be modified to a smaller area within town and to remove some of the neighborhoods that are under HOAs. The Planning Commission started this discussion, and we will be discussing again in June with an updated map. Marchant and as a previous staff member and previous planning commissioners back in the 2013 era, I believe it was, started working on this historic district overlay realignment, if you will. So we'll provide those maps, but again, generally it was to remove these neighborhoods that have HOAs while leaving properties along our gateways and our main corridor, Washington Street, within the historic district overlay. If you guys would like to start talking about that tonight, we can, or my recommendation would be to have a work session, because I'm going to task you guys with some zoning text amendment updates as well, and we can probably get a lot done in a work session, just going line by line through these items. That works.
I would recommend a work session.
Okay. I will email you guys the materials for this map as well as the section of the zoning text amendment. It is the section that is in your binders under the zoning ordinance, so you can take a look at that at section 14. So we'll just be going through and seeing if anything needs updating, if there's anything we want to add. Once we get this done later on in the fall, we're going to be taking a look at our guidelines to go through that updating process as well. So as you guys go through applications, jot notes down, what makes sense, what doesn't make sense, what are items that might be out of date, that might not be applicable anymore, or what items need to be included that we haven't quite covered in our guidelines. For an example, solar panels, that's something that really hasn't been covered since our last update. And we do have properties in town who have requested those. So think of some of those items, and we'll set a work session date under new business line item. And town signage, Marchant, do you want to go ahead and discuss this evening? I'll pull up
So-
my picture, if I can find it.
Please do not judge my Word document.
I didn't think Emily had done this.
It was not me.
This was done in my basement today while I was on another, never mind.
I
won't say
did
that on camera.
alert the person who did it that they didn't use an approved font.
Nor did I give dimensions, heights, colors, so. Color of, No orange, bronze. Sorry, that too soon? Okay. This was, at one time, we had signage over the gateway, entranceways. So if you look at the sign we have over by the museum, it was sort of that, rectangular, sort of scripted Haymarket. We had one for the police and we had one for town hall. With all the building improvements, that's gone away. So the feedback, that talking with Emily and other staff, and we have the DMV Select coming, is most people know this building, but if you're driving through town, you don't know what this is, you don't know what that is. So, and the stickers don't seem to really do a lot of justice. So with the new color scheme of black and white, the idea was, could we do something fairly simple above the doors, and then have it gooseneck lit? So this was my poor attempt at starting to do that. But the idea would be, if this is generally a concept we wanted to look at, that we would hand it off to a vendor and have the vendor do it the way we should do it. So
One of the things that I just wanted to touch base on with everybody is, we can take a quick look at the fonts that are in our booklet. If we kind of get a general feedback of, here's the font we like that we'd like to explore, we like the white background, the black lettering, and the black gooseneck, I can then reach out to that vendor, have them mock up something that would be in keeping with what we discussed tonight, and then I can bring it back in June. We would like to go ahead and move forward with this. I do believe that there could be money in the budget currently to go ahead and get these 2 signs done. So that's something that we would really like to do in this fiscal year. But that would mean that we would need to proceed with this discussion tonight. And then one other item, and I just kind of realized it here, even though I come in and out of this door every day. The door is green. The shutters are black. The monument sign in the grass is green. And so is there a consensus that we should recommend to the town manager and council that we move forward with updating the door to be painted black to match? Or do we pull in the green and somehow make that work with our white and black that we have going on? So thoughts on all of our colors?
I said black.
I think black is the classic look. I think it's okay for us to leave the monument sign the way it is, that's green out in the corner of the grass there. But I do think that the door should probably be painted black.
So the police doors being aluminum, should we ask council to replace both of them to be consistent, both aluminum? Do we have,
It's an expensive replacement.
Okay.
So
Never mind.
truly, I was thinking paint first until the council can make a decision if we need to replace the door. And if so, what the door would then look like. We would come back and work with the ARB. I think for now, if it is a possibility to just have it simply painted, that would be my recommendation.
What color are the police doors?
The police doors are actually just that aluminum. Can you,
Yeah.
if you look on your screen, I'll zoom
Oh,
in
there,
for
okay.
you. They're just simple aluminum.
Oh, aluminum.
Mhm.
Yeah, I would agree, black. And then just have the black and white signs.
And I think the gooseneck being black would also be appropriate. 1 or 2, is 2 going to look odd? Sometimes people do things in odd numbers.
So the thing about this is, look underneath it, we have that, what do you call that, antique? We have those lights all around. So now if we replace these with goosenecks, would we want to replace all the other ones? Because now we're going to have competing styles all around.
And when you go out tonight, also take a look, because at the very top, we have some safety lights that shine just straight down. They are black already. They're not quite as noticeable. They just provide a little bit of lighting, so when we leave at night. But the current ones we have need to be replaced. I don't think that they're at all functioning. I think some of the wires have been cut over the years, so I know there's one, I think, outside the police department that doesn't work. We do have, the picture's not going to show it. So you have the police department door in the middle, you have that window set, I think you have another window, and then you have maybe what used to be an old door but was bricked in, and there is one of these lights above it, one of these
Lanterns, yeah, the lantern
greenish
lights.
lights. So I think getting it uniform across And whether that's, you know, taking that one and the one above the other door and moving them up and just having them as black, simple, gooseneck, and then one singular one above our signs.
Yeah, I like the one singular.
The other question I would have or suggest, two things. One, this would be a wall sign affixed to the building versus individual letters. So would there be so the reason why it has a black box around it would be affixed. Would we rather do individual letters instead? And then also the message. Do we want to say Haymarket Town Hall, or do we just want to say Town Hall? Do we want to say Haymarket Police Department, or just say Police Department? So those are two sort of things that would be helpful to have feedback on.
I like the Haymarket. I do too.
I do like the Haymarket Town Hall and Haymarket Police Department. Do we want department spelled out and have Haymarket Town Hall 2 lines, Haymarket Police Department 2 lines? I can also have our vendor, she's really great. We work with her often, and she'll do up quite a few mock-ups, and she'll also give good opinions of, you know, this layout-wise does not look good. So I usually can count on her for some good advice, and I can ask to have a couple iterations done. One other thing, and it's a very minute detail, but it's something to consider. Right outside of our door, there is a singular brick that says 1988 on it. And so that has not been painted white. Is that something that we want to leave? It's hidden up under that light. When you go out, you'll be able to see it tonight. But is that something we just want to paint over white so that it kind of blends, but we know it's there? Or do we want to leave it the red brick that it is? We have 2 of them, one on the police department side, on the east facade, and one on our front facade over our window, over our door.
Why are they not?
When the gentleman who painted our building painted it, I think he saw it and saw it kind of as a stamp in time and chose not to paint over it, and we caught it too late.
So I guess to accommodate that, we would have to lift the sign up over it.
Hardly. I mean, it's little, but just something to keep in mind. It'll then be a red brick that you would see if that light moves. I think we could paint it white and you'll still have the numbers in there.
I appreciate his thoughtfulness, but
Yeah, I mean, I think if the numbers are still in there, you just can still paint. It's not like we're taking it out.
And one other question to think about, there is a police department door on the other side. That is not a public door. Is there any need for signage over there? I don't believe that there is, but I just wanted to bring that up. I think we're good.
I would say no,
Okay.
yeah.
any thoughts on individual letters versus like a wall sign? Or do we want to look at both options?
Look at both, but I think I like the sign option.
Yeah.
What you have here.
The wall one?
Yeah.
And then Kim has given us the,
One more item on
I'm sorry.
this one. We like the white background with black lettering. We like the black border. I'll look at an option for individual and the sign. We're leaning towards the sign. Black gooseneck. Let's look at a font though, and you guys give me some advice. I kind of like the font that's in our seal here, so I would say we match something with this seal.
so my thought about it is when I went through today, I didn't want it to go wider than the door, so I just went through each font that would fit within that box. And this
Like
is
the
what I
only
came up.
legal font size.
Yeah, everything else would have been like, so,
What's
If
the
you-
font in the seal?
To be determined. If you flip to page 21, I believe it is, or 17, somewhere in there, in the guidelines, you'll have them all typed out right there for you. And I'm pulling it up as well.
Isn't that?
Yes, it's that one. I don't know exactly, I don't know if it's not Times. I don't know if it's Book Antiqua, Antico.
No. What is it?
Might not be approved.
Goody old style?
is this thing on? Are we recording?
Is it Californian?
Maybe.
I think it is. The R's look very similar, as do the T's. Here, I'll zoom it in. Well, that's actually a bad example. If you look at your screen that I'm sharing with you, I think it could be that Californian.
Yeah, it does look like it.
It looks the most similar to that one.
Give it a try.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like that or Goody Old Style. They seem similar.
Which one was the other one? Okay, old style. Okay, I will, I'll get her to mock up some signs for us in those different ideas, layouts, and fonts. And then Marchant, your DMV.
Oh.
Kim's
I'll
DMV.
say it's Kim's DMV. So the other picture was, we were asking, I gotta tell you, I was impressed. This looks like a metal sign. It's very nice. It's sort of gonna outclass my little thing here, but, Kim, would you suggest this, or Emily, would you guys, or both, would you suggest this on the left side of the door, on the right side of the door?
I suggest the left side of the door because that's where window's gonna be on the left side of the building.
Yes.
And it looks like it'll fit perfectly between the shutter and the door. So the question would be, would this conflict with what we're considering? It seemed like it would would blend.
I think it'll be fine. I mean, the blue will definitely stand out on the white, but that is DMV. That's,
Special.
it's all or nothing. So, and it would be, we'd have the days and our hours on there as well, in that separate one.
Top one is by 32, which has say Haymarket DMV Select. And then the lower one is 6 inches by 32, and it would take hours.
Okay.
May have to move the planning stand there. And then I assume the signage will come off, the letter signs will come off except for the address. Come off the
On
door.
our door.
Yeah. Hours of operation on the door.
I think that is very amenable, appropriate. They at least need to be updated. We have to leave our suite number for emergency purposes, but the other information could be altered.
We don't want a backlit or too much. Okay.
And I do expect that sign in sometime within the next week, so you can always come in and look at it. All the signs should be here sometime.
One item, just circling back to our signs, is this redundant? I think what my recommendation is going to be is that the numbers on the police department door for their suite number and our suite number, those be the same font, same size, same location. Right now, we have 15,000 on our door. I don't think we actually have our suite number. So,
Yeah, it's on the door. It's on the bottom.
okay. So I would get that to match, and then they have both of these logos, and then Haymarket Police Department. Is this something that we would want to recommend that they remove all of these stickers? Maybe leave the seals,
The seals, I would say, could stay, but the
the themselves?
letters would go because it is redundant.
Okay.
Guess maybe ask what they would want to. Would they want to keep the?
You are the board.
Okay.
Can I get a gavel? No, I'm kidding. No, no letters.
You should have one.
Already.
I took her gavel.
Okay, well, we will update these items. I will put together a package, and then I'll bring it to you guys in June for an approval, and then hopefully we can move forward with the purchase and go ahead and get our signage put up. And I'll ask Marchant to look into gooseneck lighting and find some options to bring back. The picture looks great, but,
I think that's Lowe's.
and I'll talk to our electrician and see what that's gonna look like.
Sorry, on that we're thinking 1 versus 2.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Can we set a work session real quick for all of our work. Do you guys want to do a standalone work session so that we have longer than an hour? If so, what days are you guys available? If not, do you want to just do a 6 p.m. before our next meeting on the 21st? I know it gets into summer vacations.
Yeah, I'm not
Hopefully
gonna
it's
be here.
vacation year, okay? At all on the 21st? Are you available
I'm gone all June.
all of June?
I mean, I could Zoom, but
Okay.
I should be here on the, wait, what's our,
June 21st is our meeting date.
That's a Monday?
that's a Monday.
I'm sorry, the 23rd. No, the 16th.
16.
The 16th.
Long night, long day.
It's been a long day. The 16th is our meeting date.
I will be here.
It's okay for me, I just may be a few minutes late again with karate.
6 p.m. Okay. That's what we will plan for. Rochelle, if you can zoom in, let us know. That would be great. And we'll go from there. I'll send everything out. Let me get back to our agenda. 1 second. Old business. We don't really have any old business. I can give you guys updates. They're going to be a little bit redundant, so it'll kind of cover old, new, and planning commission. But Van Meter is well underway, as you guys probably have heard from the blasting or maybe felt. Blasting should be done in the middle to end of next week. They're doing their blasting between 2:30 and 3:30 each day and sounding off their sirens. So just a little bit longer for that, and we should be all complete. We do have Crossroads Village is currently at the town council with SUP applications, special use permit applications, and it looks like the town council will be having them back in June and possibly making a decision at that meeting. So I'll keep you guys updated as we learn more there. But otherwise, old business, that would be all that we have. New business, the town staff right now, engineer and myself, are working on several site plans. So you guys will be receiving additional packages for Robinson Paradise when they come in. That is the property that is over across 66 on Jefferson Street. We are still working on Transform Power Yoga. I know that the ARV has already looked at that application, but that is still under review. And then Carter School is coming in. That'll be on Washington Street at the Van Meter project, and they'll be bringing in their architecturals here soon, shortly after their site plan has been approved. Planning Commission updates. Ayush, I'll take that one for you. The Planning Commission met on Monday night, and we discussed the zoning text amendment. There's a Google Doc that'll be shared with all of you for our next work session discussion. So as you have time, please just read through. Again, our section is going to be Article 14, the Old and Historic District Overlay section. So we'll go through that pretty much line by line. I'll make some comments and recommendations beforehand, but we'll just talk it out on what should be updated. I will also get any weigh-in on prohibited signs, any updates that we should do to the sign section. Again, that is something that myself and a planning assistant will provide to you beforehand. And then we will look at the zoning map for the historic district overlay. And that's all I have. Town council updates would be from Marchant.
Okay, the council did deny the SUP at Crossroads Village for the multifamily. Project was voted down. I guess the data center discussion, there's two data center discussions at the county level. One was for the project just east of town, and then there was a initiated study of expanding the data center overlay district partially into the rural crescent So you've probably seen that on the news a little bit. So the town has, or the planning commission has spoken on these applications, noting concerns about how the power's gonna get there, where the power line's gonna come from. And then what was the other point that Councilman Weir made?
Is it cooling?
Cooling?
You're drawing the blank.
So am I, it's getting late, sorry. But they have offered pedestrian connectivity that could finish all the sidewalks to the town boundary. So you'd be able to walk from that end of town, I guess, to the town, or that area down to the end of the boundary. So that would be an interesting perk. But more to come on that. I imagine the council may take formal action once it's sent up to the board of supervisors. The CIP, we're going through the CIP, which I had recommended we add or finish the windows and doors on the building in the back, the building outside of Cupcake Heaven. Needed some doors replaced and some windows replaced. So that's something I'll work with Emily to come back with. What else we do? The CIP, also the park. We're going to look at doing some interim improvements to the town park. There was a plan for the town center, looking at dedicating some monies to do that plan. Sidewalks along the park, trying to get that sidewalk completed. There's some monies that are going to be put after that. Emily, Kim, anything I'm missing on Big CIP?
Public hearing for your budget.
Yes, the big thing, we set the hearing for the budget, which is June 7th, and it's equalized, right? Equalized tax rate, so there would be no increase to the town tax rate. Actually, it's going to be below the equalized tax rate. So that also allows for the DMV select position, which, when is that opening again?
April from July 1.
July 1, so we added budget for that to hire. We have to hire that person to manage that. And we've hired someone?
Got hired.
Okay, so that's good. And then we've funded 6 police officers, a COLA, cost of living allowance for the police officers, which should be helpful. And then we're revisiting the take-home policy for the police department. So hopefully that'll be, it's in the budget. We just have to formalize the take-home policy. And I believe they're interviewing police officers now to replace some of the police officers that had resigned and moved on. What's that?
The new officer starts Monday.
Yes, I should just defer to you, I'm sorry. Thank you. So yes, we will quickly. Right now, we do have coverage. We always have coverage from Prince William County, but when there's voids in the schedule due for whatever reason, sickness or something like that, the Prince William Department, Prince William County is backing us up as we need it. So we hope to be fully staffed in the department soon. So thank you. That's all I have.
Yes. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
You have to, motion to adjourn?
Oh, motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
We're all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned.